Welcome to the Mechanical Room. The Mechanical Room.
A Centrotherm production focusing on all things in and around the HVAC industry.
And now, your hosts, Michael Sokaris and Matthew Price.
Venting enthusiasts the world over. Welcome to the November episode of the Mechanical Room, Season 2, Episode 11, 23rd overall. We have not missed a single one yet. Michael, you missed one last week.
I did. I let the team down.
No, you were a busy man. You're always out there. Obviously, your phone's ringing like crazy. It never stops. You took a brief sabbatical. We had Joel Sokaris, our CEO, sit in last month. Where the hell have you been?
Where the hell have I not been?
Yeah, that's good.
It's more like it.
Good.
So the week that I was out, I was up in Canada. I was in and out of 13 airports in 5 days, believe it or not, including connections. If I touched down, I counted it. So yeah, it was a long week, but we got a lot done. Signed up a couple of new reps. Shout out to Cadence Sales in Alberta and to Air Solutions in Ontario. Welcome on board.
Please greet Mr. Strat with a fine.
I have a fellow
in Greek, please.
Kalispera Kyrie Strati. Είμαστε καλά που είσαστε μαζί μας.
Yasis to you, Strat.
Did you get all that?
No, I do not.
So I just welcomed him on board as a Centrotherm rep.
How do you say ULC S636 polypropylene vent systems in
yeah,
Greek?
I don't know if I can do that in Greek. I can do the ULC and certainly the numbers, but polypropylene venting systems, I'm going to struggle.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. That's why we have the technical translators. I have yet to translate anything into Greek yet. It's just been exclusively French Canadian.
That is true. So we got to open up an office in Athens or something, and then go there and work a little bit.
We have the lay of the land a little bit there.
Yes, we do.
Traveled a bit, so I'd be into it.
Yeah, I'm in.
It's cool.
So it's good to be back. Yes, there was a lot of travel. I did miss one. I feel bad because I said I would try to make all of them, but I did miss one. But Joel did a wonderful job. We didn't skip a beat.
We did not.
I enjoyed watching it and not seeing myself in it. I was watching it at a hotel room. I was laughing, and I was pinging you at 11:30 at night how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good. Joel is obviously a natural conversationalist in some ways, and also very, very funny. And I think he got more comfortable as it progressed. And so also shout out to Rob Kwizak, who was our guest last time around as well.
Absolutely.
Who was very excited and amenable to the whole process, and also had very intelligent things to say about both of our product lines. He very experienced person installing both Air Excellent and Innaflu, and sent us some really nice coffee mugs.
You did. I got one too.
Yeah, it's really, really nice. So Rob, thank you,
Rob.
Thank you so much, Mr. R&J Mechanical out there in Shuswap, British Columbia.
So what's going on today? What do we have on the docket for today?
Well, naturally we have the inimitable banter that we have here. Then we have the show us your pipes segment.
That's my favorite part.
Which is your official favorite. They're all our favorite parts. It's like, which child is your favorite? I know which one for you, but
they're both my favorite. Come on, it depends on who asks me.
Depends on which one's being less irritating on that day.
Yes, that too.
And then, of course, we have our guest segment today, and I believe we have our first female guest in the the entirety of the show. Not for lack of trying, but it just has worked out this way. We did have Ben Thompson's wife on for a little while.
That was a nice little jump in. Yes, she jumped in on the episode.
Galia, who does the books for the HVAC Strong team, let's call them. They are a man and wife team, and so she did pop in, but that was really just a lucky break because she came in while he was doing the interview, and it was like, hey, throw that big Scottish man out of the way, and let's talk to you for a hot second, because she had the finance knowledge, and she did a lot of the his dispatching and things like that.
Yeah.
So, but today we have Beth Ladd from the ASA, the American Supply Association. We met her last week in Chicago at the Network 2022 annual conference, where we took in economists speaking and
demographers, people in the trades, everything.
Yeah, there was sales and marketing symposiums. There was a lot of, networking with distributors and suppliers and stuff like that, standard HVAC organizational stuff. And I just happened to run into Beth at the registration table, and we just got to talking, and I was like, this lady will be perfect for our podcast. And she was ready, ready to rock with that. So we set it up.
Looking forward to chatting with her.
Yeah, absolutely. So she'll be on right after we get to the Show Us Your Pipe segment.
Everybody, this is always my favorite part of the episode. It is the Show Us Your Pipe episode, and today we're opening the kimono, not only looking at the exterior venting, but we're going inside. What's inside that boiler, Matthew?
Yeah, so this is a rare treat, let's say, because typically what we feature on this segment is completed installations. I mean, sometimes they're so fancy that there's videos with LEDs shining different color lights against the diamond plate, the whole 9 yards. And, it's a fully, some places you just don't even want to step in because it looks so, hermetically sealed and cleaned and the whole 9 yards. So this one is really fascinating because we get a quick look inside of the boiler, and lo and behold, what do we see inside the boiler but the familiar gray of Inaflu on these custom components, or really OEM components we call them, because internal to this IntelliHot boiler is a, let's call it a non-standard, non-catalog part. It is a part that is in conjunction with IntelliHot's design engineers, something that we have worked to create that goes inside their unit, in addition to the rest of the vent system that then completes the installation. But this is a look inside a retirement facility in Dublin, Ohio. It is a 1 million BTU instantaneous water heater. And as you can see, it's a kind of a custom branch T is what we call it. Some might call it a Y. That is, more of a
manifold. Yeah, there's all kinds of names.
Exactly. It looks to be, I can't, just a guess, but it looks to be maybe a 3-inch feeder into a 6-inch manifold, or a 3-inch feeder into a 4-inch.
Yeah, it would be probably a 6 at a million BTUs. I would say it's probably 6.
Yeah,
on
so
the inside is my guess.
Yeah.
And coincidentally, we didn't talk about this earlier when we were looking at all our options. But earlier in the episode, we were talking about where I've been.
Yeah,
I was actually there at IntelliHot, seeing these beauties being made. So for me, it kind of ties in my travel, a good installation. Did we mention by who? Who did this install?
Yes, we should. Of course, Streamkey Incorporated. Thank you very much for posting these photos. They are a really fascinating look that we don't typically get.
see. We don't see the inside.
So, IntelliHot is Peoria, correct?
Just outside of Galesville, I believe. I flew to the ASA, tying it to our upcoming guest. I was at ASA, and Jim and I shot down to IntelliHot. Got to see these things.
That'll be James Stafford, our
James
OEM
Stafford,
and
yes.
strategic partners manager.
Yes.
And so we really have a very Midwest vibe on this episode here.
Actually, not by design, just a pure
It's
coincidence.
funny how that works out. It's as if we produced it with that in mind.
I wish we could say we were that good.
I wish I could speak with a Midwest accent.
Yes.
I don't know
I
how
can do
to-
Greek. I can't do Midwest.
I don't even know what that would be.
don't either.
Anything that I would try would turn out to be more like Minnesota a bit. And
Go Vikings.
No, we don't want to talk about that.
I
That was
know,
a rough
they
week last
They
week.
beat the Bills. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
man.
so
I'm
it
sorry.
happens. It's the same old Bills is what I've been saying. There's some Bills fans
It's quite
scattered
the
around.
game. I did catch it post game.
Yeah, well, we were texting during it a little bit,
Yeah.
and it was not.
Sorry.
It was an ugly. Hey, it's football, man, and
Go Vikes.
I don't tie my emotions to it too much.
Yes.
Just a little bit. Anyways, Streamkey Incorporated.
Beautiful job. Thanks for showing us the inside of that IntelliHot beauty there.
Yeah, show us your pipe. Also, show us the guts of the boiler in
Yeah,
this
there
one.
you go.
So, all right, we'll be right back with our guest. Welcome back to the mechanical room. Today, we are welcoming in Beth Ladd. I met Beth last week at the ASA Network 22 meeting, and we just started chatting, and I was like, hey, you know what? Let's continue this digitally on the podcast.
And share it.
Yes, indeed. Beth is currently the Vice President for Innovation for the American Supply Association,
In her role, she defines and leads the innovation/technology function, as well as the newly established DNext. You can see that she is wearing the swag right there, the DNext Innovation Lab. It is the first of its kind for a national trade association. Beth thrives leading cross-disciplinary teams, pursuing innovative initiatives, and engaging in open innovation using human-centered design, rapid ideation, primary and secondary research, and prototyping to explore the roles, practices, perceptions, trends, and technologies that power today's supply chain. Previously, Beth directed and led Caterpillar's Global Innovation Labs as the Information Analytics R&D Manager. Man, you've had some cool titles over the years. Her responsibilities include defining and iterating a multi-year strategy inclusive of leading-edge analytic capabilities for exploration, as well as executing a portfolio of research projects across multiple business domains within digital and innovation. She has an MBA from the University of St. Mary and a BS in Business Administration from Eastern Illinois University. Michael Sokaris, say hello to Beth Ladd.
Hello, Miss Ladd. How are you today?
I am very well, Michael, and yourself?
I'm doing great, thank you. Matthew amazed me with all that he knew, but God, what does the VP of Innovation really do? There was a lot that he said, but break it down for someone like me. I have no clue what you do. Share with me what you do and the rest of our guests.
Sure, absolutely. So I think probably I have lots of, we'll say, sub hats underneath the vice president umbrella.
Amazing.
Sub hats. I love it.
We were lamenting about that earlier today about all we do, but keep going. Sorry.
No, so probably the number one responsibility or role that I play is that I established and I lead the DNext Innovation Lab. So the D in DNext is for distribution, and so the lab is on the University of Illinois campus here in Champaign-Urbana, East Central Illinois, and so the lab is all staffed by University of Illinois students. So I run that entire function, everything from recruiting the students, telling the story of American Supply Association and its members, and then helping the students learn about the distribution portion of the supply chain, which most of them have no knowledge of and certainly no experience in, and then helping shape the direction of the projects that we do, the research projects that we do in the lab, and then the research, the work itself is actually all done by the student. So at that, after that point, I just sort of get to sit back with a, Phyllis Diller style cigarette on one of those long,
nice.
Right, and I don't know, some kind of a cocktail in the other hand, and let the students do all the work. I don't know what it actually looks like, but anyway.
I need to do some assignment there.
I should have went to that college.
So I usually have anywhere between 6 to 10 students on my team at a time. And so I play the HR role, the local administration and operations role, the project management role, as well as sort of an educator mentor as well along the way. And then the students will research a variety of topics. We use, as you mentioned in my bio, human-centered design techniques, which basically means that we use tools that allow us to develop empathy and really understand the person or people that we're trying to help. So in this case, that would be distributors, manufacturers, and their customers, which most of the time are other businesses, right? They're contractors and installers and that kind of thing. So we spend a lot of time listening to those people, trying to understand the challenges.
That's obviously the human element is really permeating kind of all industries, and HVAC is sort of slower on the certain trends. What kind of tools are you using? You mentioned tools to sort of help, when you said human-centered development, I'm starting to think of I think of like Anakin Skywalker, who's like a cyborg, what sort of tools are you using to help develop empathy? That seems sort of almost counterintuitive, because it's like kind of a talking process sort of. So I guess walk us through that a little bit.
Design has it's a framework And there are lots of different sub tools inside that, right? So one of the tools that one could use in human-centered design, for example, is observations. So you would have a specific subject, a thing that you want to learn about in mind. So just to pick a random example, let's say that we wanted to understand the good and the bad and the what could be better when a contractor customer goes to their local distributor or wholesaler and needs to buy stuff. So every day, these folks need to go and they need to acquire the supplies that they need to fix someone's furnace or put in or install something new, right? And every day they'll go to that distributor maybe multiple times a day during the job. And so parts of that are a really seamless and easy experience and a well understood experience and a well accepted part of the experience. Other parts of that, they may be accepted, but they may not be as good as they could be. So one tool that we had was that this summer we sat at several different distributors and we did observations. So we watched and we listened. And we didn't intrude, we just watched and wrote down the things that we observed. So you start by making a list of what you expect to see, and then you go and you sit and you watch and you make a list of what you actually saw, and then you go back and you can contrast those. And you look for places where you can reduce friction in the process. Where could this process be better?
So with all that you said, I've got like 1,000 questions, which I'm going to forget like 90% of them. Number one, I'll rapid fire some to you. Number one, if you're comfortable and that you think the distributors would be okay in mentioning who they were, that's, who were the distributors? Number two, was this, you guys are part of ASA, right? American Supply Association, which I want to come back to too. Is this project something that the distributors asked for? Or is this project something that you as part of ASA are doing a study for? And then three, what were some of your findings? And then I forgot the other 90% that I was going to ask for.
And who was the worst person you encountered throughout this and why? No.
Well, let's start with that question because that's fun. And the answer was pretty much nobody.
Amazing.
There you go. Good answer.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
One of my favorite things about this industry is that it's a service industry. So everybody in it is service oriented, whether that's whether it's your contractor, whether that's your distributor, whether it's a person in a showroom, wherever it is, everyone we've encountered is fantastic. And they've been fantastic to my students and very patient with young minds who don't have experience. So the answer to the fun question is no one, because everyone in this industry is spot on fabulous.
I wonder if, you're obviously a kind of effervescent and warm person. I bet you that plays a role into that in opening, having people immediately, accept or get excited about the entire process, let's say. So, I would most likely give you some credit for maybe bringing some people out of their shells, let's say, in a way that benefits the overall, goals of the project.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm sure that it helps if you're willing, if you're genuine and transparent, if you're willing to talk to people and you're excited about hearing what it is they have to say and learning from them. And I am those things. But honestly, when we're out doing observations or interviewing people, we did a lot of interviews as well with my student team. I do very little talking. I sit back and let my students do the work. If I've done my part as a teacher and a mentor, and I've equipped them with the tools that they need to do what I'm asking them to do, which is interview people and get them to help us validate our observations and assumptions about the business. If I do that job well, in a perfect world, I should have to say nothing. Again, I should be sitting there, Phyllis Diller style with my Cosmopolitan, right? And my team has what they need to do the work. So
So can you say who the distributors were, or would you prefer not to?
I would prefer not to, simply because I don't have their express permission. But I will say that because I work with college students, we have tended to stay local. So we spend most of our time at distributors in Central Illinois and Central Indiana.
Okay.
Well, that narrows it down, and I have a few ideas who that might be, especially
conclusions from
yeah,
that.
without going further, and of course not naming names. I have a sense of who might be a bit of a more progressive company culture that might embrace that a little easier than someone who's not as progressive, so to speak.
How about this one? The study that was done, or the discovery that was done, was it done by the direction or request of the distributors, or is that a service that ASA, is doing an analysis and, are using students to go collect this data?
So this is kind of the origin story, really. The answer to your question is kind of the origin story of the DNext lab. So 2 or 3 years ago, the CEO of American Supply said that, it's time for us to update our strategic plan, and we need to be thinking about the next 3 to 5 years-ish. And so as part of doing that, Mike Adalizia always brings together lots and lots of folks from ASA members, right, who volunteer. And he got a group of members together and he asked them, they did several different meetings. And the question that was really on the table broadly was, what are you worried about? What keeps you up at night as CEOs and heads of small businesses? What are you concerned about when you think about the future? And specifically, what changes or what innovation, right, are you concerned about? And so they had a lot of great conversations around that. And out of those meetings came 3 strategic pillars for the American Supply Association. And one of them was in the area of innovation and technology. Obviously, all the leader volunteers recognize that the supply chain is changing, and it's heavily influenced by business process change, just the way we do business, as well as the technologies and the tools that support those changes. And so everybody sort of said, yeah, so, we think we understand the people who deliver all the stuff in the little black vans to our houses every day, all day long. Like, we think we understand them, but nobody saw them coming. And we're concerned about what's coming after them. So what's the next, right? What's the next round of that look like? And how do we
Where does that evolve to down the road, and how does that impact kind of the traditional HVAC supply chain?
Exactly. And so, the first, and that was pre-COVID, right, when they were doing this analysis and asking these questions. And so out of that, they said, well, we should do some work and investigate and figure out. I don't know how we do that. I don't know how we figure out what the future is, but none of us can do that as 300 individual distributors, but we could do that together through ASA. And that's really where the lab came from. So the idea was, there's an existing research park here at the University of Illinois. It has a couple hundred companies in it. Some of them are big companies that you would recognize the names of that have innovation labs. And then the rest of them are startups that are coming through or out of the university. And so it's a great environment, an entrepreneurial, innovation tech focused research park, and it's a great environment to be in. And then you get access to all these really young, brilliant minds who are going to one of the top 10 public schools in the United States to work on your problems part-time during the school year and up to full-time during the summer. So it was a great model, and it was an innovative model and something that no one had ever considered. And so that's kind of where the lab came from. Well, out of all those discussions, there were lots of other themes of things that people said they were thinking about or wanted to know about and were concerned about. So those themes were the initial starting place for projects for the lab. And then when I joined ASA, I went out and interviewed a bunch of CEOs of some of our distributors and ask them some more questions related to those themes. And from that, I developed an initial list of about 10 or 12 broad areas where I felt like we could learn and maybe uncover some opportunities for our distributors and their manufacturer partners, and that they would be broadly applicable to everybody, right? Because part of the key is, at the end of the day, the projects that we do, we're trying to serve 400 bosses. So I want to do stuff that's broadly applicable, but also pragmatic and really useful to our members.
Yeah, that's fascinating. It's, there are other companies out there, besides these trucks that pull into your driveway, companies, every day. There's other companies out there, and we philosophically speak about this all the time. You know where my head's at.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That are creating these platforms where technicians are joining, and they're providing a venue for direct purchase through them because it's easy. They're there, they have the relationships, and they're partnering with distribution. There's a lot of disruptive models out there, and it's fascinating. I didn't know that ASA, actually, we're new to ASA. I didn't know that ASA was out there and doing these analytics. So I think it's fascinating.
It is. And speaking of which, we were just at the Network 22 ASA. Is that the annual conference, let's call it?
Yes, that's our annual conference.
Yeah. How was that for you? How'd you find that? Any particular insights? I mean, we have some feelings about some of the great speakers that we saw, and of course, obviously networking with our customers and
our reps.
Yeah, I mean, it was really a great group there. So what's your takeaway just from? I mean, it's still pretty fresh, I suppose. But how was your conference? Where was the best place you ate in Chicago, et cetera?
Well, I spend a lot of time in Chicago, but when I'm at Network, I don't get to eat. I don't get to go anywhere or do anything. So as part of the team at ASA, it's all hands on deck during Network. We're a very small not-for-profit in terms of the actual number of staff. So everybody has multiple roles to play during the conference to make sure that you have the fantastic experience that you've had. So that's great.
We thank you for wearing those sub hats.
You're welcome.
Favorite place to eat while we were there, Mr. Price?
Oh, what was the name of that sushi place we went to?
Oh, the sushi, that was my favorite too. Momotaro, I believe, something like that.
It was good.
It was excellent.
It was about a mile from the hotel, whatever. We took a little stroll down Michigan Avenue and went to that place.
If you've not been there, highly recommend it.
Yeah, the Toro was, very,
It was good.
very, very good.
So we've been dancing around this whole subject of ASA.
Yeah.
Our viewers, listeners.
Oh, what is ASA?
Some of them are contractors, some of them are distributors who would know, some of them are reps who would know, but and various others, including my kids, who wouldn't know.
Yeah.
What is ASA? What do you do?
So the American Supply Association, when I explain it to folks, it's an association. So just like a Costco, right? You pay a membership, you pay a fee to join the association, and for that fee, you get benefits. So the American Supply Association has many members. They pay a fee to join our association. Our members are typically in plumbing, HVAC, large pipes and valves. So they're usually in the distribution portion of the supply chain or the manufacturing portion of the supply chain. And then our role at ASA is very broad. The thing that I think is incredibly important at ASA is our education role. So we have an education foundation and a group of folks who design and maintain all of our education materials that distributors can use to educate everybody from the gal driving the forklift to the gentleman at the front counter to the folks in the offices doing the payables and receivables. So there's a great platform there to do education. ASA also offers an advocacy function. So we spend a lot of time in Washington and in some of the states that tend to, we'll say, push the envelope when it comes to codes and standards, like our good friends in California, for example, and make sure that our members' voice is represented in laws and codes and standards. An example there would be at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, ASA was a strong voice in asking the Office of the President to define essential roles. we started talking about essential roles very soon, and people who were going to be exempt from some of these issues, some of the stay-at-home students needed their role, right? We needed them to be working, but from the beginning, we didn't have a definition for what that meant. So ASA was there pushing, saying the function that our members provide and to whom they provide it must be an essential role. And then, as you mentioned, right, another function of ASA is networking. It's bringing people together and providing platforms for them to interact and engage and learn from each other, and get to know each other, and have a little, we'll say, friendly competition in the industry. And then, then DNext's role is really about the future, right? Is pushing us all forward into the future. And ASA also has a variety of initiatives that are designed to help support our members as they evolve and hopefully grow and sustain into the future. So that's a lot of what we do. And like I said, we do it with a small not-for-profit. We don't have a big staff in terms of administration, but we pack quite a punch in terms of value proposition.
So for us, I mean, one of the things that we belong to, ASA and other organizations. I'm very grateful. I mean, this time of year, especially when we're doing all our planning, is, the economic, presenters, the ones that talk about the economy and the forecasts and the outlook.
Demographics.
Honestly, I'd seen that guy before many years. I forget the gentleman's name that did the demographics study last week, but I'd seen him before. I've always found his presentation to be very entertaining.
Yep.
I thought it was good.
Yeah, sure.
I was just looking. I just got his book. He mentioned his book while he was talking, and of course I can't see it right now to save my life. It's somewhere on this table. But yeah, I ordered his book. It's called Upward or Onward or something. But I loved his demographics presentation. Much of what he discussed is mentioned in a lot of DNext's research pieces, and we've been hearing from a university perspective, from a higher education perspective, many of the data that he referenced have been talked about in higher education for over 10 years. Yeah. Because for us, looking at a decline in births means a decline in high school graduations, which means a decline
in shortage of labor. We talked about it before. Yeah.
Sure.
And so anybody who's, particularly universities who have large capital investments in buildings, land, classroom spaces, research spaces, it's incredibly important to look 2 generations or more out into the future as you're planning capital investments. So a lot of what we talked about was, I think, was aligned with what I've been hearing for many years, and I was excited. He really made the data accessible.
We should ask him to, as a future guest, try to bring him in and talk a little bit about it.
Indeed, we tried to. He was busy, but
tried to flag him down and wrangle him in.
We're yes for him as well, but also Ian Heller, who is somebody who we have.
We know Ian pretty well.
Yes, Ian is a frequent speaker at a lot of these industry events, and so we've seen him a number of times. And actually, there was a time in which Ian was the host, and I believe both you and I were I don't know, at the table we were like the spokesperson or something along those lines.
You did the intro for him too, if I recall.
No, it was for a different guy. Yeah. But he was there that weekend too. We're talking about Hardy, of course, which is not, a not really a competitor of yours exactly, but
another association,
a parallel association, let's say, with the same kind of missions and goals and things like that. I mean, absolutely. So I mean, we're one of many. We strongly believe in those things here at Centrotherm. We're, like Mike was saying, we are members of many wholesale organizations, the Southern wholesalers, the Northwest wholesalers.
And we like to give back too. So both Matthew and I at different times have sat on some steering committees. We'd, like to offer up, since we're new to ASA, we'd be happy to help you guys out if you need somebody in one of the committees.
Yeah, sure. I don't know if you have committees.
I'll take you up.
Careful what you ask for, as they say, right? Because you just might get it.
My speaking fee is quite reasonable. My rider that comes with it is really, really intense, though.
Yeah, he
So,
needs special kind of room and special kind of M&Ms
Yep.
and everything else.
Not
that
just
goes
pour
with
out
that.
brown.
for you. Yeah, that was a great Van Halen reference. Nicely done.
Yes, yes, indeed, of course.
You caught that.
So that's actually a good transition into the less serious elements of it. Like,
I want to come back to one series.
oh yeah,
one,
yeah,
but
go ahead.
we'll
Before
come
we
back,
get into your favorite bands and things like that,
which we always
and
do.
who you are as a human being.
So for me, recruiting the last couple of years has been very tough. So you are an ASA working with colleges, and they're doing some analysis right in the sweet spot of what we do, right? It's distribution, it's HVAC, it's hydronics. And you guys, ASA has students that are studying and learning and then providing feedback. How do we hire some of those guys? Are they on the market, and how do I get some resumes? Is that part of what you do? Because we need some people.
So I think it's really, obviously this is a hiring and finding great people is a challenge, and it's going to continue to be a challenge, kind of referencing what we heard, what we were talking about earlier with the demographics, right? With a declining population, that means there are less people graduating and going into the workforce. So if we think, the numbers are clear, by 2030, 100% of the baby boomers in this country will be retirement age, will be eligible for retirement. 100%. That's the largest ever.
Stop, would you stop? Matthew's a Xer who wants to pretend he's a millennial, so don't.
So there's a lot, right? There are a lot of people who have left, and still many more who are going to leave, and the time is short, to your point. There are smaller generations in terms of the workforce, just in terms of the numbers, right, game coming behind them. So I think, to me, being out there on the recruiting floor, right, I think one of our biggest challenges in this industry is that we are just as hidden as our products are in walls.
No, interesting.
That's an
interesting statement.
I like that. It's a good analogy. That's kind of strong.
Thank you.
Yeah, it resonates with us. Us in particular, our products are hidden, like specifically.
In a boiler room, in a basement, in a wall somewhere, right?
So yes, that really does resonate here, like even more so.
Yes, exactly. And we're hidden. Our industries are hidden, and it's a huge problem. And don't get me started, but we made a mistake as a society many years ago when we pulled when we de-emphasized the trades and we pulled trades related experiences out of high schools. That started a domino effect that has landed us where we are today, which is largely completely hidden, and our young folks are completely unaware of the existence of our industry. And that's a huge problem. How can you attract people to come and work for you if they don't even know you exist?
So I'd say it is changing at least a little bit now, because of the conversation around student debt and the how open some of these professional tradesmen are with how lucrative it is to be a plumber. You're always working. There's no there is no automation of certain plumbing techniques. And so we at Centrotherm have worked really in depth with some HVAC influencers who really take up the mantle of kind of what you're talking about here, who are really in it for the trades in particular and in the advancement of it, and trying to kill off some of those sort of unfounded mentalities about what it is to be a plumber, what it is to be an electrician. And they're really, it's actually fascinating to see these communities being built around this type of stuff that has always existed, but has been sort of hidden. Like there was, when I was young, there was never I never really considered being a plumber. I was always going to go to college, right? I was always going to go whatever and go and learn, read Shakespeare or whatever it was, and I did that, and it was never even a consideration, which is weird because now as I see all of this happening, there isn't a bit of a younger thing. Now there's less people, as we've mentioned, but there is some influence out there to increase this, and we see it a little bit at when we do trainings and when we talk to these folks about who are actively promoting the industry as a whole, not just their contracting firm, not just their Instagram page, but the entirety of plumbing, the entirety of ventilation and air conditioner repair and refrigeration and the whole 9 yards. And it actually is pretty inspiring. Some of these guys are really, really inspiring.
Yeah, I agree.
And that is my answer. You answered the question for me, Matthew, right? Our generation, the Gen X, there was the narrative that was the trades was highly suppressed. So the dominant narrative for Gen X was you're going to go to college, everybody's going to go to college. Gen Y, his narrative was a little more lost than that. It was almost a muffled version of what we heard. And I think interestingly, the narrative for Gen Z is where the change that you're talking about is happening. And those are the folks that are beginning to ask, hey, but I don't want to go to college. There have to be other options. I like to work with my hands. I like to solve problems. And there's no place that you can be that you have to be more creative than in the trades. There's no place.
And that ties right back to the demographic guy, which again, I forget his name. Maybe we can post the name and the book that he had for our view, for everybody.
Well, I'm going to go.
He's going to go search for it right now. So yeah. I guess as Matthew is doing that, I'll ask the question and we always get to this. You mentioned Van Halen. Yeah. Give us, what music do you listen to, and are you a David Lee Roth or a Sammy Hagar Van Halen person?
Okay, so first off, Sammy Hagar all the way. I don't even want to talk about Diamond Dave. Sammy.
Thank you very much. I am of the same mind.
This is rarity here. I mean, I gotta say that is not the popular choice.
Popular doesn't mean right, Matthew.
I like them both. I really do.
There's some good, Diamond Dave, but Sammy by far is.
Well, I mean, there is no Van Hagar if there was no Van Halen.
That is true. That is true.
So
we've had this debate, as you can see. We each fall on certain side of the table here.
Yeah, so he's more of a metal guy and I'm more of like a jazz jam band guy. So where are you falling along the depth chart of the music stuff here?
So this is tough for me because if I opened my library right now, I have somewhere in the neighborhood of 180 gigs worth of music spanning 8 decades. So I listen to everything from big band and swing all the way to what's current to today. Let's see, a good example would be.
So before you even go on, who's your favorite big band guy?
I would have no clue who they are.
Artie Shaw? You a Duke Ellington person?
I'm a Duke Ellington person. I love.
Right. Hey, can't argue with the Duke. So and then then flip it to 2022. Who's on the top 40 that you're like really into right now?
Oof. So, and this is probably cliche, but she does own, she's probably I think she's the first artist to own all top 10 slots.
Oh God, please, no.
You know where I'm going. I love Taylor. I've watched her since she first emerged in the country world, and I'm a country fan as well. And I've watched her grow as an artist and a songwriter, most importantly. And I greatly admire her storytelling abilities and her way of speaking that is elevated, writing that is elevated, but is still incredibly accessible across probably 3 generations of listeners. That's pretty doggone outstanding for any songwriter. I don't care who you are. Leaving the sort of cliche of the pop genre issues aside, she is incredibly intelligent, well-spoken, well-written, and has managed to transform herself genre by genre for 20 years. Mic drop.
I got to give her credit. She's not on anywhere near high rotation, and my kids obviously listen to her. But what you say is true. I mean, she's pretty bright, and what she's accomplished is pretty methodical, in the way she's progressed her career.
She's a business.
I am not a fan. But we'll go on from there. And it's funny because it's not like, I'm wearing a shirt of a band that's, started in 1978. And, I do have, my wife says I listen to nothing but 1970s music, which is not true, because there are plenty of 2022 people that I like as well. Dua Lipa, Lizzo, You know, even some Bieber songs are very catchy. The modern times, less so than the his earlier stuff, but nowadays the new Harry Styles album is amazing. You know, so even though my wife says I listen to nothing but the Allman Brothers, you know, I do mix it up quite a bit. But Taylor's not in my rotation, at all.
I listen to a lot of stuff. So, I mean, this year alone,
Like your favorite band overall?
Concerts I've been to. So,
What was the last one you went to?
Elton John.
Oh, there you go.
Amazing.
You're on Matthew's happy list now.
Say again?
I said, and before that, Kenny Chesney. I saw Kenny Chesney.
Amazing. Okay, so yeah, that's wild. So if you were wandering around outside of the hall a tiny little bit on Tuesday night, I snuck down to that second floor there. There was a grand piano in the corner, and I definitely brought a bottle of water with me, and I sat there and I played some Elton John songs because that's just what's always on the tip of my fingers. And I'm a piano player, and Elton John is one of my absolute favorites. Kenny Chesney is a talented guitar player and an interesting, obviously a country superstar. So, what's the next concert you're going to?
Next one, let's see. What do I have tickets for next? Probably, I've only bought 2 sets of tickets for 2023. So I bought Arctic Monkeys tickets.
Wow, this is very diverse.
Yeah. yes. And George Strait and Chris Stapleton are playing together, are very limited dates, and I was lucky to get tickets to that. So.
Yeah, George Strait is a legend, of course.
He is.
Unbelievable.
And Chris Stapleton is the modern day version. He's a little bit of George Strait and a little bit of Hank kind of rolled in together. And also a very diverse writer and performer, and has done lots of partnering work as well. So,
yes.
But if someone asks me, what's my genre? Where's my heart? It's with 80s hair metal. So I'm a huge Kip fan.
A huge who fan?
Kip Winger. I love
Kip
Winger.
I thought I heard Kip. Okay.
Amazing.
Yeah. Wow, that takes me back.
Pre-pandemic, I would see him 3 to 4 times a year. I'll drive anywhere in about a 4-hour radius.
Touring. So wow.
80s metal, amazing. Okay, so what's
hair metal? There's a difference.
True.
But did you know, Matthew, that he has written and was nominated for a Grammy for his classical work about 2 years ago? He has also written a Broadway musical that was on Broadway a couple of months ago called Get Jack.
Okay, interesting. I did not know either of those things. I know he's a talented guy. I didn't know he was composing classical music in the modern times, but obviously a very competent musician and composer for sure. Winger is funny. I mean, I associate Winger with Beavis and Butthead, not being particularly enthusiastic about the videos.
But they really killed Grim Reaper, man. They really did a number on Grim Reaper today. They destroyed their career.
So okay, what was your finest 80s hair metal memory concert?
Oh, probably the first time I saw Kip it's a small venue in a far west Chicago suburb. The first time I saw him there was probably 2015 or 2016. And it's a tiny little venue. It probably only seats a few hundred people. So there's not a bad seat in the house. And he was just having, it was clear that he and Reb, the lead guitar player, they were just having fun. They were talking and teasing. And I was close enough with my girlfriend that I went with that she and we were listening to what they were saying between songs, and we bought VIP passes. And afterwards I walked up to him. A lot of people, of course, come with a CD for him to sign. And the CD that I had for him to sign was actually his solo all acoustic album, which is one of my favorites. And so I just kind of breezed past the band and said, "Hey Kip, this one's actually just for you." And he looked at it and he goes, "You're a serious fan." Yes, I am.
Yes, that's amazing.
So I'll tie commentary about Sammy. First concert that I ever went to was Sammy Hagar and Aldo Nova, if you remember the day.
Of course,
Remember
yeah.
Aldo Nova?
Yeah,
Here at
absolutely.
the Palace Theater, just down the street.
Amazing.
Yep.
Amazing. All right, Beth. You have anything left?
No,
We've taken up
thank you.
a lot of your time.
Thank you for coming in.
And we will see you real soon on the ASA circuit. We will, of course, be active members and, take that offer serious. And, both him and I have probably too much energy for our own goods. And we're always want to do more for the trades and to advance these organizations and things like that. So, thank you for all the stuff that you do. Thank you for joining us here on the Mechanical Room. And we will be in touch very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for the opportunity. It was great to chat and get to know each other, and hopefully your viewers will get to know a little bit more about ASA and DNext and the work that we're all doing to support our industry collectively, right?
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Thank you again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. That was quite the episode again.
Yeah, Beth was great. When I first met her, I had a feeling. You can just tell sometimes with someone's energy. She seems to be like the perfect person for that role too.
Quite the title, VP of Innovation.
I actually think she wrote in her thing. It said VP for Innovation.
For Innovation,
which is
yeah.
even more cerebral, right?
Yes.
I mean, I want to say I'm the manager for marketing and Instagram here.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm gonna change my business cards.
There you go.
To
Does
put
it come
on.
with a pay raise too? I'm assuming.
A hefty one.
There you go. I'm in.
So yeah, Beth was incredible. ASA is something we're just kind of getting our feet wet with here. It's a new organization, which is actually one of a few new organizations. Yeah. So shout out to our friends at MCA. We are now members of the Mechanical Contractors of Alberta Association, and working on our Mechanical Contractors of Saskatchewan Association, in addition to being members
We are
of
everywhere, my friend.
Yeah,
everywhere.
I mean AD and Commonwealth and Blue Hawk and Hardy
and
yeah, I mean and
SWA,
AARP and NRA and I mean all we got members everywhere.
Yes.
An onslaught of initials, an onslaught of acronyms. That is.
I put that under my name on my LinkedIn profile. All those.
You should. My wife and I joke about that all the time because she is someone who is a heavily degreed person with many certifications, and so she is an MBA, PMP, KMA, which stands for Kiss My Ass. That's what she always says after the end of it. That's how she ends her title. With it because she's earned all of that.
I don't know where to go with that one. I'm not going to touch it.
Well, there's been some funny conversations with her where she's been, you get, she's like, hey, I've got all the credentials here to say that I have this authority and whatnot. And believe me,
she has the authority.
She has the authority.
Indeed, she does.
Indeed. Gabby, we love you. We're just buying your plants just a minute ago before we were recording there. So a couple poinsettias coming your way, which are part of your daughter's.
Yeah. If anybody's looking for poinsettias, call me quick. It's part of a school fundraiser.
School fundraiser to benefit
some of their projects that they work on. So they've got all kinds of different projects that they do, community give back and trips and all kinds of stuff.
Your kids need more projects.
Yeah.
His kids are involved with, and I think I can only name a few. They both play instruments. Yes. They both do dance.
Yes.
They both do taekwondo.
2 types of dance. Yes.
There's archery in the mix.
Yes.
There is mock trial now.
Yes. Youth court. My daughter rotates through being the prosecutor, the defending attorney, and a jury.
Your son is he's heavily involved in fragging aliens on his iPad.
That too.
I don't know if that's
too much of that.
I don't think that's through the school though.
No, that is not.
It's in lieu of
soccer. You got to add the soccer to that. Diving. It's
diving. That's a new one. I didn't know that.
Auntie does diving, and she's actually now training for her lifeguard.
Okay, excellent. And of course she works too.
And she doesn't sleep though. That's the thing. There's no sleep allowed.
No.
At the Sokaris house.
Nope, no, we know that for you. I mean, you've been running the candle at both ends for quite some time at this point. So,
yep.
But that's only a guy like you who has that energy can really keep that up, pretty much.
That's thanks to my wife, although she doesn't listen to the podcast. So, that just we'll have to. I won't get the credit for it that she deserves.
We'll have to send her this clip.
Yes,
of course. Let her know that there's a lot going on. She knows.
She's
she's a busy lady herself too. I mean, there's. No, a lot of energy in the Sokaris household.
A lot of caffeine.
Yeah, those dogs come running out the door. They're yipping. I mean, even it permeates to the poodles.
It does indeed. So back to to our guests.
So yeah, Beth was great, and I mean, I'm very happy we were able to finally have a woman guest on. It's been a while. We've been looking and we've been wanting to be obviously as diverse as possible as we can, and it doesn't always work out. But as soon as we met her, I knew that it would be
a natural fit.
It would work out, and
Absolutely.
I'm certainly going to stay in contact with her. She's buzzing my phone right now with all the stuff that we talked about. Like, you got to listen to this album by Winger, and here's the book we were talking about and stuff. That's the kind of energy that I have. It's the kind of follow up that I would do. So
Yes.
you know how it is. Very high I personality there,
Absolutely.
which works great for the innovation.
Yes.
I mean, obviously she's got her her hand in a variety of things at a very interesting group.
Absolutely. Well, it was we attended for the first time, and I came away pretty impressed. Good presenters, good networking with distributors and reps. It was a pretty well run event.
Yeah,
I was impressed.
nice location. All of the sometimes you go to these things and there's like, it's not as neatly organized as could be, but this was kind of down to even like a 15-minute increments and whatnot, and it worked out. It was very seamless, and it was enjoyable, entertaining, and informative,
enlightening. Yes, absolutely.
Great networking, et cetera, et cetera. So ASA Network 23, we'll see you there, of course. I have some suggestions as to locations. I used to live in Chicago, so Chicago's old hat to me, but I do love going back. So next time we'll have to hit Portillo's, and maybe they can schedule it in the spring.
Actually, I did hit Portillo's with Jim.
Did you?
Before we went to Intellihop, we went to Portillo's and got Italian beef and sausage. It was very good.
That is one of your favorites. We had been there together before at a previous Chicago excursion, and we definitely had to hit that place up as well. But ASA was a lot of fun. Chicago was great, and we're happy to be in that organization, and we're very grateful to Beth for being on the program. And
doing what she and ASA does. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, we're kind of ASA in theory, and what she does is pretty much aligned with sort of the goals of this podcast, which she alluded to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot that goes on to get a simple product to market and in the hands of an installing contractor. There's a lot of different pieces, and that's part of what we try to do, is to give those of you who listen and or watch kind of the puzzle pieces, from a manufacturer's perspective, from a distributor's perspective, from an installer's perspective. How does that all come together? It's a pretty well-oiled machine, but if you don't know all the different pieces, it doesn't seem like it's anything too special. But there is a ton of work and a ton of stuff that happens behind the scene to make it all happen.
All right, let's end this. You got to drive your kids to viola practice or whatever it is. We'll see you guys next month with the Christmas Spectacular.
We're doing that again.
I'm cultivating, or I've got some ideas percolating in my head for we're going to do another game show of some sort.
Okay.
And I'm deciding what I think will work best. I may wear a tuxedo. We'll see. It's going to be the Christmas Spectacular. It will be our season finale. Season 2.
Was last year. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was. So we'll see you back in December. Thanks again for everybody, checking us out and whatnot. And have a happy Thanksgiving.